Welcome to Chik, the podcast where the girl with many titles talks about life, the good and the bad, and everything around it. We're going to sit, chat, share life stories and experiences, from business to relationship. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Chik podcast. Today I am joined by Lucy. Now, I met Lucy just over, it was like last July, no, it must have been last maybe April, May.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think it's been so long, and I ended up becoming part of what is called Actors, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. But yeah, I'm just really looking forward to this conversation because this is definitely one to me that has been really important but really exciting, because we're going to talk about like purpose, we're going to talk about just things that I think at the moment we all need a little bit of light, and I think you're gonna give that. So I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Chikuma. I'm really excited too to have this conversation because I always feel so energized by talking to you. And you inspire me massively too, so it's great. I am someone who loves learning, and I work as a consultant and coach, supporting leaders to, I suppose, unlock their inner authenticity to and be more intentional.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I do, and I think I like to think, or I at least want to be facilitating meaningful conversations with leaders and teams that lead to transformation. So yeah, that's what I'm all about.
I love that. Honestly, you've summed that up so well, but there's still so much more to it, which is also really exciting, which we'll dive into. But so for those of you that don't listen or watch the podcast, we normally start off with a challenge of the week, but I'm now changing it so that it's either going to be a challenge or a tip. And then in the middle, we're going to do how are you actually doing? So we just check in and make sure that we're okay, if there's anything that we might want to talk about. And then we'll end with a win of the week. So do you have any challenges of the week? Do you have any tips for the week?
Yeah, this week I've had quite a challenge on my hands. I work with clients, and I had this particular bit of feedback last week. Actually, I was away on holiday, and I had this chat with a colleague who gave me some feedback on a program that I'm facilitating, or a group of people that I'm facilitating. And it was really interesting because, I'm supposed to be more self-aware than anyone else, or I put that pressure on myself, I suppose. And being a coach and being a mentor, I go, right, well, how do I talk myself through this process? Because what happened was, when I heard the words, I was triggered last week, and then I very quickly took myself back and sort of said, okay, listen to this, Lucy. And in fact, what happened was, sort of by unraveling it turned out that what I'd heard wasn't quite about me, but I made it about me. It was really interesting. And how often in conversation, with another colleague or with anybody, do we make something about us? So really, I've learned that's been my challenge of the week, because I've been working with this client. Yesterday, I worked with the client, and I suppose I was just on high alert.
Yeah.
It's so easy to just be stressed and more anxious because I feel the pressure. So for me, it was staying really calm, being present, knowing that none of us are perfect, but actually I could do a great job, and that, and just building on my learnings.
Yeah.
And just holding that presence rather than going off down this fear, this tunnel that often we go down, of fear or depression or being anxious about something, because it's all fear driven, and it's all at effect of something that we are confronted with. Comes up. So learning how to respond to being calm, that was my biggest challenge of the week, particularly because of this little bit of noise in the background that popped up last week around this particular client.
We're going to being really self-aware, and funnily enough, I think mine's kind of linked to yours. So I've been focusing on talking to my inner child a bit more, because I've noticed that recently, when I'm getting triggered, especially when it comes to kind of the business world, and there's just a lot of noise at the moment, and people panicking, and just a lot that we can't control. And I keep saying to myself, the bits that I can control are just to do with me. So I've started talking to maybe the younger version of me that gets triggered more, just to say that, right, everything always works out. We're going to be fine. There's no point letting all of that cloud it and not being in the moment. So I guess my challenge, and I've got a challenge and a tip. The tip is maybe talk to yourself a little bit more, be kinder to yourself, but also remember that, yeah, things always get better and you can't be caught up in the noise all the time.
Yeah, and it's just a thought, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
what occurs in our world is, or my world is just my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Yeah, perfect.
Mm,
So,
mm.
how did you get into everything you're doing? Because I really want to touch upon actors just because that's something that I'm involved in, but it'd be really good to find out how, yeah, you got into coaching and doing what you do.
Yeah, okay. So I started my sort of journey of running my own business about 20, nearly 21 and a half years ago.
Yeah,
I was in the corporate world. I loved my job. I worked for Unilever. I was in marketing.
yeah,
I'd previously been a food technologist, and I realized I was doing some work. It was about a big marketing department, and I got into a team that was looking at the culture of the department, our department. And we were going through loads of change. There were loads of mergers and acquisitions all the time, buying businesses. And I was learning so much, and I loved the people side.
yeah,
And I decided when I left to have my first daughter nearly 22 years ago, I decided I wasn't going to go back. When I was offered a job back to go back into that world, I just thought I just didn't want that, because I felt that I'd get caught up
yeah,
and be in that system and not be able to kind of be the parent I wanted to be.
yeah,
So yeah, I decided I would go into leadership development and coaching, went on a few courses, went on a bit of a journey, and never looked back really. And it was partly, for me, it was my own growth journey as well.
yeah,
So as I work with my clients, of course I want to continue to be on my journey as well, and
yeah,
stay ahead and be even more self-aware, because the more self-aware I am, the deeper and the better work I can do with my clients. And I just, the conversations I have are amazing, and what I've learned through on that journey has been amazing.
yeah. Do you know what? I always forget, because obviously I know your backstory, but I forget how similar we are. Because even from our first conversation, I was like, oh, both in marketing, food technologists. There's just this, and then obviously like self-awareness and like
Yeah.
leadership and development, all that side of it. Just so much. And I think I forget sometimes that, so I'm always inspired, but sometimes I think I forget that that comes from like a deeper level. Because when we have chats, sometimes I feel like you've got such an understanding that I don't even need to say certain things. Like you just get it. And as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, that's why. Perfect.
Yeah.
So then, how did you get into Actors, and what made you start Actors? And what is Actors, I
Yeah.
suppose?
Yeah, no. So I've been working with, for the last 20 odd years, I've been working with senior leaders, teams in businesses, large and small. And I've been interested in, purpose, as you said earlier on. And I've become more and more fascinated by, the companies and individuals that have a purpose versus the ones that don't.
Yeah,
And I'm a capitalist. I'm not shy to say I am. I believe that, yeah, clearly I also support charities, and I do some charity work, and absolutely want to continue to do that, and that plays a really important role. But I also believe that if you want to be a commercial business, make profit, it really isn't a bad thing. It's a really good thing,
yeah,
because that will help that business thrive. But I see there's a bigger need, and the companies that are able to encompass a purpose will, particularly in this world that we're in now, this VUCA world that we're in, need to just volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity.
yeah,
We don't have all the answers. And I was working with senior leaders, and I realized there was a bit of a disconnect with my daughter going into into a placement, into industry. I just thought,
yeah,
oh my goodness, there's a big gap in what youngsters know and how they communicate. And actually during the pandemic, just they were disconnected. Some of them were working and they'd never met their colleagues, and they were quite lonely
Yeah.
and kind of cut off a little bit. So I realized that, oh my goodness, I haven't done anything. There's something I can do here to use my skills. And also I can learn loads, because I can find out and get myself in their shoes and try and understand, how can I support them to step up, take more responsibility, because they're going to be aspiring leaders. You're a leader today, but actually you're going to be around when I'm either in my grave or on my Zimmer frame. You are my legacy, or our legacy.
Yeah.
So if I don't help and support that, then I'm really not doing my, fulfilling my purpose.
Yeah.
So actors came from that, really, that sort of fire in the belly during, pandemics. Like, I just need to get to put something back and do something about this.
Yeah, I really love that you saw a problem and didn't just think what can be done. Like, you actually did something about it, because I think, especially for me, for example, being in business for so long, like, I forget sometimes, like, it's nearly 15 years, but in that 15 years, I've seen a lot of the same problems. I've had, even when I've been working, I've had a lot of the same issues. And these are issues that you're pointing out, that there's a disconnect between senior leadership and maybe the younger leaders or aspiring leaders. There's a disconnect between the world as well. And like you said, that there has to be some form of capitalism as well. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person, you just want to make money and do your own thing. But in terms of your business models, that's something I've recently been looking at, where I've gone, actually, I need to be very clear on my business models and accept that I need to make money to live. And then if I do want to give back, I need to do that in a way that's still going to sustain me, not overwhelm me, but do it in a way where I do still feel like I've got a purpose. I am giving back. I am doing something. And I think that's where, for me, Actors has been such a huge part of shaping that, because I don't feel like I need permission anymore. I feel like I've got this group of people that sit there and go, yeah, we've got the same problems. We're looking at the same issues. Have you ever thought about looking at this? Like, why are you actually on this earth? What do you want to do with this world? And how are you actually going to do it? Because for me, Actors isn't just about what we can do, it's how you're going to do it. And I think you've led by example, which obviously is always a great thing, but just in, because that must be a scary thing, like, you're dealing with, because all of us are under 30, so you've gone into a world where you're really good at what you do, but then you're now connecting with people that have different skill sets or live a life that you maybe don't understand as much. Like, how have you found all of that?
Well, I've learned so much, and I've realized too, if I've, so what am I suppose for me, what I've realized is, sometimes I kind of go, oh, I'm getting frustrated. I have this sort of, feeling that I'm frustrated. I'm in the conversation with these young leaders, and I go, okay, so lean into that and understand what that is. And often it's like my inner biases that I was unaware of.
Yeah.
So for example, we were doing and I was like on my guard. I was like, oh, and I was holding myself back from being authentic, because for me, as you said, it's all about authenticity, and that's where we connect massively. And that's why Actors has been so great for you, I think, is because it's about finding who you are and then being that authentic person in the world every day, and the ups and the downs. And yes, so I think it's that. I think it's that. I've lost my train of thought now, actually, but it's that.
No, I just get so into it. But actually, that's a perfect time, because now I'm going to ask you, how are you doing? How is life? How is everything?
Life is good. Life is full at the moment. For me, it's keeping, knowing that there's lots going on in the world. There always is lots going on in the world, but at the moment there seems to be so much going on in the world. And it's, how do I let go of that? So acknowledge that it's happening. But I'm finding there's so much fear around. And there's and then we're all getting caught up in it. And so for me, how I am at the moment is really trying to stay still and not anchored. Yeah, in a way anchored. If I'm in a boat, and probably a small boat, in that big stormy ocean, how do I keep stable? How do I keep, on top of things? And I think from a mental health perspective, making sure, if I'm not looking after myself, then how can I look after others? And I think if we can all do a little bit more of that, then we'll be in a better world. And it's not about being selfish. It's about giving yourself nutrition, and whether it's meditating or whether it's giving your friend, which we were just talking about earlier, a massage because she really needs it. It's like, and special instruction, don't bring your husband, don't tell him when you're coming home, be there for the afternoon, and just, it's like nutrition. It's not, and I think some people think, I can't do that because it's being selfish. But if we're not helping and supporting ourselves, then how can we support others?
That's so true.
And also keeping the focus on, because I've got this purpose about, wanting to raise the level of consciousness in the world, my own sort of real desire. And sometimes I kind of go, oh, well, how much of an impact am I making? I'm only, doing this and this and this. And, I think of the story of the boy going, I probably told it to you, on the beach, who's walking along, and there's loads of starfish all over the beach. And there's an old man that comes along, and he's a very wise man, comes along, and he sees this little boy, and this boy picks up, and he says to him, what are you doing? And he said, he picks up a starfish and he throws it into the water. And he says, made a difference to that one. And picks up another one, a few hundred yards down the way, and made a difference, throws it in the water. Made a difference to that one. And it's like, putting things into perspective. So for me, it's very much about putting things into perspective, realize you can't control everything, getting an inner sense of who am I, and I'm okay. Right at the heart of things, I am okay.
I love that, because I think at the moment, mental health wise, I'm doing okay with how the world currently is. But I think sometimes I get, just because of how overwhelming everything is, I feel other people's emotions quite deeply as well. And it then kind of, because I was very much a people pleaser, but I like the people around me to feel safe and happy, and I want to do whatever I can to help them. And I think this is just a period where, unless I had millions of pounds, there's not much I could do to solve a lot of those issues. I think, like you're saying, I keep reminding myself that there's only so much I can do. But first of all, I need to focus on myself and making sure I'm okay, not feeling too overwhelmed or too anxious. And then if I can do something for someone else, whether it's just going over to my mum's to say hi, making someone a cup of tea, getting someone lunch, then that's still doing something, that's still making a difference. And it's then sitting and being grateful. So my partner got me a new journal for my birthday, but even just being able to sit there every few evenings and just go, okay, what am I actually grateful for? What are the positive things that are going on at the moment? And that's been really, really helpful to kind of put things into perspective, that yes, things might be difficult, but it's not as bad as you think. And it then makes me think as well, I work really well under pressure. So then I start to think, actually, I'm thinking of really good ideas and maybe things that I wouldn't have done if I was in a more secure place. So yeah, I'm all right.
Cool. Really cool.
Okay, so going back to talking about kind of purpose and being authentic, because I think, like you were saying, for me, those are the things that have stood out the most to me, because my dad always used to say to me, you don't know yourself. And I could tell you so much about yourself, like you are ambitious, you're all these things, but until you learn who you actually are, you're going to keep struggling in life. And it wasn't until I started therapy, I started going on solo dates, I then met you and joined Actors, that I then started to learn the person that I was. So, like, have you got any tips on how, especially not even just, because I think because it's the work you do, for me, it's not just about business, it's about the personal life as well. So would you have tips or generic tips or anything specific for people finding the purpose in life, in work, or in doing, like you've said, like this little starfish, and knowing that you've done a little bit, but that's probably made a massive difference to someone else? Do you have any tips around that?
I think, find, for me, I've done a lot of reading around, and I've looked at what frameworks, what context, what point of reference, when I'm having a bad day, when I get that feedback that triggers me, and all I need to do is really just sit there, lean into that feedback and really listen and ask questions and understand and have humility to, learn loads about how could I be even better. And so for me, it's having a frame of reference, and my frame of reference is all around the new paradigm of I create the whole of my own reality, and being at cause. And the context that sits within that is love. And what's the opposite of love? Well, it's fear. And the old paradigm is the drama triangle, persecutor, victim, rescuer, and being at effect of what's happening in the world. I'm sitting in my boat and I'm getting upset and I'm drowning and I'm cold and I'm not doing anything about it and I'm wobbling around, and rather than, as you described there, just writing in my journal, being grateful, finding the things that are going to give me nutrition, going to give me food, going to feed me, to help and support me to live my life. And that for me, and within that, there are some key principles, which is I am response able. I am valuable. So even if I don't know, shouted at someone or done something which probably wasn't what I really wanted to do, if I'd had the time again and I'd been more aware, I might have gone, hold on a moment, Lucy, don't vomit your emotion there at that person, or, just so know that I can choose to respond however I want to respond. So knowing that I have that responsibility to respond and be responsible. I am valuable. I'm lovable. And often when our not good enough pops up, or that depressing thought pops up, it's just that we, the 0 to 7, or what the teacher told us we thought was the truth. And of course it's not. That's the inner child you were talking about. It's not the truth. I'm a grown up now. I can decide, no, I am good enough. Okay, I might have not been very good at maths or whatever it was, but it didn't make me a hopeless person. So just let go of that and know that I am lovable. And if other people might love me, but actually I have to forget everybody else. I have to love myself. I have to love me, warts and all. However much I look at my wrinkles and go, oh my God, I don't like looking at myself. Just find a way to just be okay with that. And tell my truth. Tell my truth. And as long as I can say it in a way that's not upsetting, if I don't tell my truth, how can I have that, conversation with whoever it is I need to have, that this is my experience of you, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but, to have those more like tough conversations.
That's, do you know what? That's so great, because that, like I was saying, it applies to your normal life and in work. Because I've definitely been in positions when I was working with other people, like within other organisations, where I was wary at saying how I actually felt, even when I was feeling frustrated. Because for me, 9 to 5 was never for me, because I believe I'm an efficient person. There was no point in me sat at a desk from 9 to 5 when I knew if I sat there and really focused, I could be done by maybe lunchtime. Then I'd have to wait until things were maybe approved by senior leadership or something else was done. But they wouldn't want to change what they were doing. But rather than me saying, do you know what, actually, this is frustrating me because I feel like I could be doing more and I want to do more, I just let it frustrate me more and more. And I then hated that 9 to 5 even more. Whereas now I could work 9 to 5 now. Not that I choose to work 9 to 5, because I'll stay up and work. I'm a night owl. But I can do 9 to 5 and it doesn't make me feel the same. So what you're saying just really resonated. That definitely, I think we need to learn to just have the balls to say how we feel, as long as, like you said, it's not in a way that is rude or we are being really mean, because we can make a difference.
And not to be, was that a tip? It was kind of a little bit of me going off on sharing my my context. So I think what would be my key tip would be, you're just knowing that you're okay.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on, just give yourself a hug.
Yeah.
And know that you're okay, whatever's happening outside of you and around you.
Oh, I love that so much. Honestly, it's just the way that you say it as well. It made me feel a bit emotional. You say it in such a calm voice, and it really does resonate. Yeah. I know that people will be listening to this and be like, "Oh, yeah, that does make sense." But yeah, that's great. We are actually coming towards the end. So, what has been your win of the week so far?
My win of the week has been having a conversation with you. It's been amazing.
Thanks.
I have goosebumps. And yeah, I think sharing my vulnerabilities,
Yeah.
the impact that then has on the other person, and the knock-on effect.
Yeah.
It's like a ripple effect.
Yeah. I love that. And funnily, I laughed when you said vulnerabilities because that was going to be my win of the week. But I think my win of the week, I've had some conversations this week with people that I've really been open about, like how I've been feeling, and knowing that like it's on me to do something about it. But like you've said, just being vulnerable has helped me have conversations with people where I have felt really inspired, and I know that I can finish the day doing the work that I want to get done without getting too bogged down. And like there are even just like life admin at home and the little things I need to do. Whereas this morning that might have been something that in my mind was like, I don't have time to be cleaning and getting ready to go away and then doing the work I've got to do. Now I'm like, actually, I know I enjoy cleaning. So if I need to tidy up one room, even if I spend 15 minutes doing a bit of a room, come back and work and keep doing that, again, that's the way that I'm going to face the rest of the day and not get too bogged down. So yeah, I'm all here for vulnerability and seeing how we feel, whether it's in personal life or business, because I do think it does. Like I remember did a talk last week, and I was saying that I've been listening to a talk about vulnerability from Alan Dipatain, and he was saying that we only ever make actual connections from a place of vulnerability, and you're never actually going to be friends with someone, you're never going to connect with someone, whether that's on a personal level or a business level, until you've been vulnerable. But these are the people that you then keep in your circle for a very long time. So yeah, hopefully there's some takeaway from other people, like to other people as well, that they can be vulnerable and it's going to be okay.
Cool. Wonderful.
Fabulous. So thank you so much for joining me. Like it's been such a great conversation, and everything we've done so far has been really good. And I hope I'll link your websites and like your links and everything underneath in the comments when I post this, and it's going to be posted everywhere. But yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit and chat with me. I really appreciate the work that you do, because like I said, for me on a personal level, it has literally been life-changing, because I think there were things I was already doing, but I just needed someone to say, do you know what? It's okay to do that even in business. It's okay to be you and authentically you in a way that makes sense to you. And it's helped me build something that I'm so proud of. So yeah, I appreciate all the work that you do and how much work you've put in yourself, because you are so inspiring. And I think you are creating that next generation that will make a massive difference in the world.
Thank you for having me.
Perfect. Okay, so everyone, if you could like, subscribe, put your notifications on for all the other podcasts. Hopefully I will have Lucy on again in the future. So if you've got any questions or any feedback, then that'd be great. But thank you very much, and we will see you next time.